So I recently finished, like last night, just finished rereading Red Storm Rising. I've been working on it for a couple of weeks. Um, and we've done a couple of videos on it, but I think the interesting thing about reading books versus watching a movie, and there's not been a movie about this one, I know, but one of the things you get from reading books is you really do learn things even in fiction. You do begin to think about things in ways you don't when you just watch a movie or a streaming show because you can't really get in characters' heads in the same fashion. Some great actors can get you partially inside a character's head, but they can't get you all the way in there, right? They can't necessarily give you that inner monologue, with the possible exception of Deadpool, because his inner monologue is an outer monologue, and the fourth wall breaks. But the thing about this one that I really enjoyed was it sets it's a it's sort of later Cold War conflict between the United States and the USSR, because it was still the USSR then, and huge global war over something stupid, as they all tend to be. Um, it, uh, it, but to me, the thing that really stuck out about it is you have these characters that are so compelling. It's not really a book about the war. It's a book about the people that fight the war, which makes it completely different than what you see in a lot of action thriller types of things. And the thing that really drove home for me the skill of Tom Clancy and Larry Bond at that stage in their career that not a lot of writers can pull off, even though it took them 650 pages to do it. I still, page turn the crap out of it. But the thing that they do and do well is um, they really kind of help you see what it is, what it means to be a soldier, what it means to be that guy who has to push the button and blow something up that he knows is going to kill 100 people, and what it's like to have to live with that. What's it like to be the guy who was on the ship, who got blown out from underneath you, and you were one people to survive a room that had 15 people in it. Um, and what's it mean to kind of live with that and go back to work the next day or go back to your family? That you really get inside those characters' heads. What's it like to have to live with the political decisions of people who are driving the war and telling you to go out and risk your life while they're back not risking theirs? What's it like to be a true leader versus somebody who's like going to sit in the conference room and be like, okay, you go do this and you go do that. No, I'm going to go out to the front line. I'm going to lead from the front. I'm not going to lead from behind. I'm going to lead by example. Those are entirely different things. So it really does make you think about the character of people. And the other thing it does is it shows from a leadership perspective what happens if you don't necessarily listen to your people so well. So when you get to a higher position in your career, three-star general, four-star general, during my day job, chief technology officer, you take your pick. People bring concerns to you, and you have a tendency to be like, well, if that was a big concern, I would already know it, and I think it's this, therefore that. But you forget these are the people with data that is relevant because they have to live with it, right? They've been out in the field, they've been out doing this stuff. And both sides of this conflict, the USA and Russia, there were examples of messages from people who had to do the work not getting through to their leadership team. And when that message didn't get through, it wound up costing people lives. It wound up costing people effectiveness in battle. It wound up costing people victory versus loss. So it really does set some interesting tones and really makes you think. And really, if you are a person in a leadership position, it at least makes me think. I need to listen a lot more to an occasion instead of just have my own preconceived notion. People aren't always going to be right. The people that work for you will come to you with a concern, and you can at least say, "Hey, look, here's why it's not correct. Here's where your thinking is a little bit off." But if they've got a legit concern, you need to take it into account. You can't just be completely dismissive, which is what happened in the book. And that's one of the reasons I think writing fiction is really good for people's mental growth, is that it helps you see an example of what happens when you behave in a particular way. It helps you see examples like that. At least well-written fiction does. Uh, and I'm not talking about pulp fiction that gets cranked out, 50 books in 2 years kind of stuff. But I'm talking about, well thought through fiction that does kind of dive into characters' heads, and I can come up with 60 examples of that. This is just one. So if you have not read this book, I highly recommend it. It's fantastic. Next up on the to reread list is a book I haven't touched in 20 years, but I was talking to somebody on one of the platforms about, and I'm going to read it for what I think is the third time. Lucifer's Hammer. That one's up next. That's a first edition. Very nice copy of a first edition from a book put out in 1977 by, oddly enough, Playboy Press. That one's up next. You'll be seeing videos on that one in the near future. If you haven't read Red Storm Rising, grab a copy. It's on Kindle, Audible. Fantastic book. It was actually Tom Clancy working with Larry Bond. Larry Bond's on the copyright page. He didn't make it on the cover page. I don't know why, but it was a great book. Those two working together was genius. Jack Ryan is not in it. Just word of warning. But take your take your time, go through it. It's well worth reading those 650 plus pages to get the story. You're gonna love it. Everybody have a great day.